when can
So
people
this
watch it?
movie, it's called Sagres, which is the place I come from. So
Okay.
where I really attribute a lot of my career to this place. And the movie wasn't my idea really, but the idea of someone I knew. He works in TV and in movies and stuff, and he was like, "Oh, I want to tell you a story," and I was like, "Ah, okay." I didn't really know what it means to tell you a story until
Right.
we start filming,
Yeah.
and it's well, it's a really beautiful little. It's a
Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Sporting Level podcast. And today I'm here with Joana. And Joana, first of all, thanks for taking the time. How's everything going these days?
Oh, everything's great. My favorite season is starting, winter. So I'm really happy to be home and to be able to enjoy my home waves for a little bit. So yeah, all good.
There you go. Happy to hear that. Okay, well, I have to kind of touch upon it. Like, why is winter your favorite season?
Because it's the season of the waves. In summer we have
Ah,
pretty bad waves. It's small, it's not perfect. So now from October to April, it's when we really have the best waves. And that's when I want to be home to surf every day. And yeah.
makes total sense. I was almost about to say, are you half Norwegian or something? We like our winter and snow and skiing. So but for different reasons, obviously. But obviously, it's a pleasure having you here, and we're going to dive a little bit into obviously your amazing career, a little bit about what you're doing these days, as well as some other initiatives you're working on, and some tips you had. And first and foremost, why don't you share a little bit about kind of like how your journey in bodyboarding began, like, and I guess as well, like, where did this kind of like passion come to life for you?
Okay, so I'm going to start from the beginning. I always feel like bodyboarding was my destiny, really, because my parents are both German and
Okay.
they came to live in the south of Portugal like before I was born.
Yeah.
They didn't know there was good waves here. They just came to live here, and I was born here already, and we have amazing waves. We live in
Right.
a very, very good place for bodyboarding. So
Right.
when I grew up, all my friends in school, all the cool kids, they were already doing it. There
Yeah.
is a big community of really good bodyboarders here for a long time. So
Right.
it was kind of natural to get into it. No
Yeah.
one, asked me. They're just like, come on, let's
Right.
go. And it started from there. I was 13 when I first tried it, and I never really stopped. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, like it's kind of like that environment around you. It kind of like just became a part of you, part of your you know how can I say childhood growing up. It's just the thing you do.
Exactly like that. Totally natural. Like it wasn't ever planned to be like that.
Right.
So yeah.
So talk a little bit about bodyboarding itself. Like, what is the sport all about, and a little bit also how does the competition work for those that are not aware of this.
Okay, so bodyboarding is a smaller board. Probably everybody knows what a surfboard is. This is like a smaller board, and you have fins you have on your feet. So you're not standing up on the board, you are lying down.
Right.
Yeah, that's the big difference between
Okay.
bodyboarding and surfing.
Yeah.
We do tend to look for waves that are more hollow, a little bit more shallow. We really want, I'm going to use my hands to describe
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. No, go
we
for it.
really want to get like those hollow tube waves, like really
Mm,
barreling waves,
yeah.
because it's all about the barrel or the lip maneuver, which if you ever Google bodyboarding, you will see like a bunch of pictures of really heavy waves and people in the air. So that's the beauty of bodyboarding for me.
Okay.
And for me, like what kind of it's a characteristic of the sport, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what bodyboarding is. It is a younger sport in surfing. It's
Mm,
not like I think it's like 50 or something, 50 years old
yeah.
almost. Yeah, it's really radical. Like it's a really radical kind of sport.
Right.
So in competition, we have like let's say the world tour. We have different stops, different events all over the world,
Yep.
and the elimination like process is kind of like most sports. You have elimination rounds until you
Right.
get like quarterfinals, then semifinals and final. In the
Right.
earlier rounds, usually you have 4 people in the water at a time, like so
Okay.
4 bodyboarders, which 2 will progress, the 2 who get the best scores
Mm,
in that 20 minutes, 30 minutes. It depends on the day, like
right.
it's decided on the day.
Yeah.
But well, from there, people get eliminated until you have only 2 people in the final, and then you'll have a winner. And then the end of the year, after let's say 6, 7, 8 events, you have a world champion.
Awesome.
So Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, the only thing I was thinking about too when we were speaking about this, and obviously, as we know, waves and weather, sometimes it plays its own plays its own life. How kind of like does that play into part? If like sometimes I guess you get a good wave and then you get a bad wave, and talk a little about that process, I
So
guess.
that's the beauty of the sport, it never gets boring because
Yeah,
you have to be completely adaptable, flexible with
right.
the conditions. You have
Yeah,
to predict a little bit what's going to happen, but you never know until the day of the competition, or even
yeah,
inside of the day. It changes so
right.
much with wind and tide, and so it's a very well, you have to really adapt. You have to
Yeah,
train every condition to be
right,
prepared for whatever comes, and
right.
that to me it's what makes it interesting, because you don't have any routine. It never gets boring. No wave is the same as the one before.
Yeah,
And then of course there is a little bit of luck involved in this whole
right.
thing,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's only luck. Okay, you can get
Oh,
one good wave, but over a course of time, it's because people know how to read the ocean,
yeah,
know how to predict when the wave's going to come, which one
right.
is the good one. So
Yeah.
there is a whole other set of skills you need to have to well, to make it in competition, I
Right.
think.
No,
Yeah.
100%. Makes total sense. And I mean, like, yeah, the more, as you were saying, the more you kind of practice all sort of waves and elements of the nature, I guess, the more prepared you are for the big competition. And it's probably one of those sports, right, where I guess the environment can change quite rapidly, just even in a competition itself. And that I would say is obviously it's more typical on the water sports side of things, but still a big factor that it can, I guess, also impact a bit mentally, I guess. But moving a little
Definitely.
bit on, obviously you have some amazing merits under your belt, being 4 times European champion, 7 times national champion, and the 2017 world champion. Little bit about like what are some of the key lessons you learned along the way, competing at the highest level, and obviously also, being able to stay at the top, kind of like for so long.
Okay, so I think it's all about having fun, to be honest.
Awesome.
Because if you're not having fun, I think you don't put enough. You can't give it all. Like this is something you really need to keep going and be
Right.
consistent at.
Yeah.
So you really do have to go every day. You really do have to surf it many hours every day. And if you're
Yeah.
not having fun, it's going to be really painful because it's not always, it's not always sunshine and palm trees. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's rain and cold and bad waves. And so you need to really love what you do. I
Right.
think that's, if you have the passion for it, you will never give up. So for me, it's all about being better technically, like being a better bodyboarder,
Yeah.
progressing always.
Right.
And then the results come from that for me.
Right.
So I still don't feel like I'm the best I can be. So
Right.
that's what motivates me. It's why I still go to the beach every day and still do the same thing over and over again. I think that's a key for being long-term successful.
Right.
Yeah, so it's all about being a better athlete, and the competition part that comes almost by itself if you focused on those. There is a competition, you focus on those days.
Right.
That's a different kind of surfing, even because competition is different from free surfing or from training.
Right.
So I kind of like, for me, it's all about fun. And then on the day of the competition, okay, now that's my job. I will do my best.
Yeah.
And enjoy the whole thing, enjoy the process, enjoy the training. I've never been that kind of athlete that just loves the painful training. I don't like that. I just want to have fun, otherwise I don't see the point.
Yeah, no, it
Yeah.
makes total sense. I mean, like, it's all about the fun, of course, and I think as you were talking about too, it applies to a lot of things, right? Whether you want to be best in a sport, or you want to be best in your sport business career, which is obviously a lot of our target audience, right? And I mean, like, it's just never stop learning, right? You never kind of think I know everything. And I think sometimes, especially us young people, we have a tendency sometimes to like, okay, we're out of school, we know everything, and we think we're gonna take over the entire world, and then maybe you realize that very fastly that you don't know everything, right? So
No.
always kind of like staying hungry, humble, and trying to learn as much as you can, and I mean, like
Yeah.
as you were saying, have fun along the way, very very key as well. So some
It's
very nice words there.
it's amazing because if you spend a lot of time in the ocean,
Yeah,
you know you need to be humble. You know that you don't know
it's a
everything.
good point.
It's like this
Yeah,
element that teaches you constantly to try again, to never give up, and to,
yeah,
yeah, especially be humble and be respectful because it's so big, it's so powerful. You need
yeah.
to know your place. So it's a beautiful thing that sport. Like, I think the ocean really teaches people that spend a lot of time with it.
Right.
Yeah.
No, yeah, the ocean is a powerful thing,
Yeah.
and it knocks you back if you're being
Mm-hmm.
too disrespectful, So
Very fast.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good point. It's a good point. That's why I
Yeah.
like to stay on top of it, But
Yeah, never under it too long.
yeah, no,
Definitely.
exactly. No, but another cool thing though that you're working on now, you're also just about to launch your movie.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about like what this movie all about, and how and when can
So
people
this
watch
movie, it's called Sagres, which is the place I come from.
it?
So
Okay,
where I really attribute a lot of my career to this place. And the movie wasn't my idea really, but the idea of someone I knew. He works in TV and in movies and stuff. And he was like, "Oh, I want to tell you a story." And I was like, "Ah, okay." I didn't really know what it means to tell you a story until
right,
we start filming.
yeah,
And it's well, it's a really beautiful little, it's a documentary, it's not a movie, it's a documentary
right,
that
right.
tells my story from the very beginning. Also a lot of cultural aspects from South Portugal,
Ah,
because I grew up in the middle of nature, in the middle of
yeah,
nothing. So
yeah,
he he tells all that until the world title, and how the world title also changed my life basically.
yeah.
And all of that with very Portuguese music,
Nice.
back to the roots. It's an interesting documentary. It's pretty cool. It's very different from what everyone would expect to be like a surfing movie. It's not a surfing movie.
Nice.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that sounds awesome. Like when is it launching, and how can
So
people?
we had like a little pre screening just for the local people where I live, and now we take it to the bigger screens in Lisbon next week. So
Nice.
it's going to do the whole documentary film festival circuit, and then probably maybe going to TV. And until it comes online, it's going to take a while.
I'm
Yeah.
waiting for it to join on Netflix.
Oh my God.
No, but I mean, like, yeah. Once you have, I don't know how the model works on it, but if it's like possible for people to, maybe it's like a teaser or a link or something, we can obviously, share with the community. But we can discuss that a bit later. But anyways, so congrats on the movie. I'm sure you're, very happy about it, and I'm sure it's gonna be great. It sounds very interesting, and I mean, like, I
Yeah.
hope maybe it's like English or like somehow.
Yeah, we have English subtitles, of
Yes,
course.
let's
Yeah.
go. Then I
Yeah.
can watch it too. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit about, obviously we talked about the movie. Some of the other initiatives you're doing as well is you're raising, some awareness about ocean problems and stuff like that, with going to school all over Portugal's with kind of like the Schenker school tour. Talk a little bit about that and kind of like the initiative, the and kind of like what impact this has on both you and the kids in itself as well.
So the Schenker School Tour wasn't my idea as well. Was the idea of one of my main sponsors, which is the Blue Ocean Foundation and the Aquarium
Mm,
Oceanarium of Lisbon.
yep.
They kind of challenged me. They were like, "Oh, Joanna, can you go to school, like talk about your career and why the ocean is so important, and basically motivate the young kids to care for the ocean and to be
Yeah,
active, proactive."
right.
And I was like, "Oh, no way, I can't. I'm so shy. I could never like go and talk in front of lots of teenagers. I was so
Right.
afraid." But well, we have to challenge ourselves. So I started to
Exactly.
go, and it's amazing, to be honest. We have reached
Right.
almost 10,000 kids by
Wow.
now. Yeah, it's a lot of days in school. Like I go to school just like I'm a student.
Yeah.
But you know, in the beginning I was really shy, but then I understood they listened to me because I'm from sport. I'm not a teacher.
Right.
I talk in a very relatable way, so they really understand. So that kind of motivates me even more because, you know, I care so much for the ocean. The ocean has given me everything.
Yeah.
And if I can give back just a little bit, if I can do my little part, then,
Right.
you know, if there's one kid that goes to the beach and picks up the trash or
Yeah.
doesn't take a plastic bottle, then it's a win already. So for
Right.
me, that's very important to keep doing it. And yeah, so
That's awesome. And yeah, I mean, like you're just gonna get out of your comfort zone, right? And I mean, like, yeah,
yeah,
and as you were saying, it's almost 10,000 kids. It's a lot of kids, to have just, and it's good as well, kind of getting a little bit people from the outside often, it's kind of
exactly.
like the difference often that people kind of, oh, yeah, it makes sense. And I think also, with your experience, your merits, and, being, how can I say, almost almost living in the ocean. It's a
Yeah.
bit far, maybe, I don't know, but
Yeah, it's almost
like
that way.
you're a part of the ocean practically,
Yeah.
and so hence, it gives them, I think the the power essentially they need, in order to kind of, okay, yeah, no, like you're a living proof of somebody that is out there daily, and you see, what the ocean needs, and how they can help, right? More importantly as
We
well.
can all help. That's exactly what I want to.
Yeah.
What I really want to is everyone to feel empowered. That every single person can do a lot. Like we are many people on this earth. So if everyone does a little bit, it goes a long way. It
Yeah.
doesn't take much. It doesn't take. You don't have to stop your whole way of living. No, it's just really little things, and it's
Yeah.
almost like an exercise. Once you
Right.
do get one habit of not, taking the plastic bag from the supermarket, and you can go on to the next one. And
Right.
once you look around, you have like a really smaller impact.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all about that.
Yeah.
It's basically just giving the little spark.
The little things
Yeah,
matters, you know.
yeah, a lot, a lot.
Exactly. So we're about to kind of reach the end here, and I wanted to talk a little about, some tips that you might have, for young athletes, and also students looking to either go, professional in bodyboarding, but also I think it's curious, kind of, how, especially these young students that wants to work with sports, maybe they love, like, water and the ocean and water sports, like yourself. Like, what are some ways that they can kind of help the sport to grow even more? And I guess you see
Yeah.
this, being part of, the industry, and how that's been growing, and sort of like where are sort of like, I guess, in a sense, the gaps of where people can come and help a little bit.
Wow, it's well, like I can only talk from my own experience. When I
Okay.
started, it was all about bodyboarding, getting better in the sport, like becoming a better athlete. But
Yeah.
once I reached a certain level, I understood like that's not enough to make it in the industry, because this is a sport that doesn't have much money. There is no millionaire contracts for anyone, to be honest. So you need to I think, diversify your abilities. It's
Hmm.
still about the sport, but for me,
Sure.
for example, as an athlete, I need to learn how to be outside of it, how to go to events, how to do public
Great.
speaking, how to network, and to
Yeah.
be more interesting even for mainstream brands, because there's where the funding really is. So
Right.
you need to open up, to leave your little bubble of the sport and really reach out. So it's the biggest advice I can give to anyone starting out or wanting to get enough sponsors, because we don't have any public, or this is not an Olympic sport. Every athlete is
Yeah.
funded by private companies. It's all
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
sponsorship. So you really need to be valuable to those brands. So it's also
Right.
social media. It's being able to go on TV and all those stuff. I think it's very important to make it long term. Otherwise, the funding is not there. That's the
Yeah.
truth. And even outside, like even if you're not the athlete, it kind of is the same thing. You need to see where bodyboarding hasn't been yet and to make it
Right.
interesting. It's a great sport for everyone, for old people, for young people, because what makes it harder or more dangerous is the waves you choose. You can have fun on the little waves. So
Right.
it's really a great way to get people into the ocean and to get
Yeah.
people enjoy the ocean. So that's kind of where I think we can do a lot more.
Yeah. I mean, like, I guess it
Yeah.
has a great grassroots potential. That's
Exactly.
great, you know, and
Exactly.
if you help the environment at the same time, you know, that's also
And also for young kids to get them out of their home or out of in front of the computer, or even for those kids, you know, who are like in more difficult situations. The ocean is such a great way to get you off the streets, get you off anything that's not so healthy.
right.
That's where I feel like we haven't reached our maximum impact. So that's really where I think we can work a lot with this sport.
Absolutely. No, it makes a total sense. And, you know, with that, Joanna, I would like to thank you, you know, for taking the time and for sharing your story and your insights. And I mean, like, it's going to be interesting, you know, where the ocean will take us. A bit cliche word, but you know, I guess I'm in the mood for that these days. Anyways, so again, thanks once again for taking the time. Really appreciate it. It was a pleasure having you part of it, and yeah, thanks again for taking the time.
Well, thank you so much for the invite. I hope some people get to know about bodyboarding, and yeah, maybe see them in the ocean. Who knows?
Absolutely, yeah. And then for those of you, you know, that have been listening all the way at the end, you know, make sure to like the video, subscribe as well, so you get weekly tips, you know, from leaders like Joanna every week, and athletes as well, sharing their stories, sharing their insight, their tips, you know, what's happening in the industry. And if you haven't already, you know, sign up at sportingglobal.com so you can connect with the right kind of people, find relevant job opportunities. You know, maybe they're coming up some interesting internships, or maybe you take the initiative yourself, go and exploring how you can help the bodyboarding industry grow. You know, there's a lot of potential there, as Joanna was talking about. So make sure to, you know, be proactive. You learn a good stuff here about, you know, putting yourself out of the comfort zone, the little things, you know, and most of all, have fun. You know, I think that was the key lesson. So with that, Joanna, I have one more, what do we call it? Yeah, it's like a tradition here at the Sporting Global podcast, and I have to teach you a little bit Norwegian. That's the last.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Everyone has to do it, you know. It's just part of the.
I want to do it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah. So, with every video we do, we always finish with "Vi snakkes," which means "see you later" in Norwegian. So that's what you have to say.
We snakkes.
There you go.
Oh, okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Joanna, and have a good day.
Bye-bye. Thank you.